I went through and, based on my notes, and all the other material that I had on this, I cobbled together the changes that were suggested in here.
Tom, is that what was in the baskets?
Yeah, this, right, yeah, it should be 10 pages. The old
Yeah.
copies are 8.
Yeah.
Okay, if you move on here, there's a change on page 2, top, where I added the language, a loss of quorum will require a recess or adjournment of the meeting. There's one thing we had discussed. And you get over onto rules of conduct of the meeting. Made some changes in item 4. And there was some concern expressed about the 5-minute limitation. So what I essentially did is I rearranged the order of the sections.
I'm still against it, but I think that's something that'll just be hashed out at the meeting.
What number is that?
Be 304. And in 304-2, at the discretion of the chair, all addresses to a motion may be limited to 5 minutes. At the discretion of the chair, without objection, the number of times and the length of time for remarks from the council may be extended. And that could be as simple as a member asking for
More time.
more time.
See, right, now I don't have a problem with this, but I know that I think I actually made the comment that once I really grasped the whole thing, I didn't have a problem with it, but I did early on. But I think it'll work either way, and I half suspect that it had a lukewarm reception in the beginning, so.
I have no issue with, again, presenting it to the council and just having it work out with a vote.
Yeah.
Minor typo,
Where's that?
3042. Last word, their rhyme to another member.
No. And that's also a thing that I added. There wasn't anything in there explicitly about that.
See, I didn't remember the whole 5-minute thing last time either. I remember there was so many times, I thought it was more focused on the amount of times you could address something. I never remembered the 5 minutes being part of it.
Well, the original read, all addresses to the motion will be limited to 5 minutes for each address. And that's how the original read. And I changed that to at the discretion of the chair. Again, that's, that's part of it. The other piece of it is that some of this is, if somebody feels they need to speak to something more than that, then they need to speak up and say, I would like to have another opportunity. And if there's no objection, then we move on. If there's an objection, then we're going to have to go through the the discussion of the suspension of the rules issue.
Yeah, like I said, I was for it at first, and when I listened to it in the end, I don't have an issue with the way things are going, and I'm against anything that would make it where someone has to get permission to speak when they want to speak. And again, part of it is just, I have hypocrite issues with it, that I sat there bound to my drum, that I won't be heard, and if somebody has something to say, I get nothing to.
And there's nothing that prevents the presiding officer from allowing that to happen. I mean, I don't see this as, being something that's hard and fast. It's a guide, it's something to allow the council to try and control the amount of time they dedicate to stuff, because everybody's complaining about the lengths of the meetings, and that the amount of time we're spending on things. So, that's part of the issue here. This is, again, I see this as a guide to the council as to how they want to run things. And at times, you're going to find that that at some point, the council is going to find that they're going to need to limit the discussion, because we'll have plowed the ground so many times.
And I have a hard time stopping personally.
Okay.
They reminded me of that the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
So
I will definitely go full out against this, but again, we don't need to debate it amongst ourselves. I'm all for presenting it to the council the way it's written, and then tackling it in that form.
Okay, ready to appeal, roll call vote. What I added in here is that before that, shall not be required to explain the vote during the roll call, but may offer a brief explanation if they desire. We had some discussion about that. So the note I made on here was to loosen that up a bit. The changes in public participation.
Let me do that. Just a comment on the roll call vote. To speak to it in the process of voting just doesn't make sense to me. I do remember our discussion, a few weeks ago about it, but when a vote's being taken, I don't remember the detail. I do remember us talking about this.
One member had strong feelings on it.
You should be able to express your vote at the time of the vote?
I don't know what it ended up. I know we wanted to be that they could speak it. I mean, I would think during a roll call vote, it should be a roll call, not people explaining it.
Okay.
Yeah, let me contemplate that if you don't mind. We can move on.
No, it's all right. 4011, there was a change in here where we had for citizens to address the board. I changed it to the public for consistency. In number 1, there was a missed word, so the word shall was added there. And there were no other changes that I made in there. In the next section, again, comments from the public, again, for consistency, change citizens, because I had copied that from another set of rules. And then under number 3, we had, there was, the original read, nor will they hear complaints against any person connected with town government. And what I put in there was non-elected
I like that.
person.
Yep.
Okay?
It takes care of that.
Yeah, because that's one thing that we had kicked around, and it just made that easier to deal with. Okay? When you get down to the agenda piece, okay, the 500 section, I inserted, originally read any member of the council or public, I inserted the town manager in there. where the council, town manager, or the public may submit an item or items for consideration by the council at any regular meeting. And then I did a bit of renumbering. Okay. Number 2 was originally contained in number 3. The filing deadline, I made it a separate section and moved it up in the order.
You did, I mean, just I want to say, you did a real nice job, I think, putting that together.
Yeah.
Because there were questions about what belongs here and there. You did a nice job making it cohesive.
Yeah, well, yeah, and again, just trying to make it more, the problem we were having with it, it was a little bit confusing and it wasn't coherent. So that's what I tried to do by reordering it, changing things in, and making a bunch of other changes in here. For instance, the time, 4:30 rather than 5 o'clock. We had a problem with the submission of documentation. I changed that language. No item will be considered for an agenda unless and until all supporting documentation is submitted to the town manager's office. Exceptions in here for the filing deadline in 503.1 may be made at the discretion of the chair. That's, again, to give you a little bit more flexibility. There might be some things, something that happens, something that changes, something unforeseen, and that will give the council the flexibility, the chair the flexibility to try and deal with those issues. The only change in the next one was the time, the actual time. Renumbered council consideration from 03 to 04. Posting, this gets expanded. First 2 sections, there's no change. I added a section 3. And 4. Again, it was to try to, 1, require that emergency meetings are posted at the same time and places as the public notice required under 91A2, Roman numeral 2. Okay, the 2 public places, and then also putting out there that it may also be posted in any other venue that will facilitate notification of the public of the time, place, and matters to be considered at the emergency meeting. Form, I took out all that form on lumbering stuff. And just put in there additionally identified in parentheses by the date and the agenda number of the original meeting, so that if anybody referred back to an issue, they can do that. Did a little bit of a rework on the order of business. Only that I added adjourn, which wasn't in there before.
Oh, God, it'd be like one of those dreams that just go on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah. Order change. That doesn't, what I did is I truncated it and added 507.22. Vote of majority of members may change the order of business of any agenda. Minutes. We had talked about how we were going to get them posted. Eddie had some concerns about how they were going to get posted and all those other things, and so I laid something out in here about preparation of the minutes. The council clerk shall prepare minutes for each meeting within the time frames required by New Hampshire state law. The council shall make every reasonable effort to review and accept meeting minutes as soon as practicable after the minutes have been prepared and submitted to the council by the council clerk. Again, this is permissive language, flexible language, okay? 508.3, I put the minutes of any meeting of the council should not be deemed the official record of that meeting of the council unless and until the minutes are accepted by a majority vote of the members present and voting at a regular meeting. Because there's always that argument about, you know, what weight those minutes have. 508.4, the council clerk shall make the approved amendments, corrections to accepted minutes by the end of the first business day after the meeting in which the minutes were accepted by vote of the council.
Can we have any type of escape clause there?
For which?
Just, in other words, in case something did, I'm just a big believer in the once it says it black and white, then it has to. What if just something happens where someone's sick? I'm just saying unless it's extraordinary. I'm just saying, to me, that's very black and white. Come hell or high water,
All right,
that's gonna be done.
all right. A reasonable,
No, I'm not, Tom, and it's just, I was just looking for something unless extraordinary circumstances or something, just something. I agree, because if you put reasonable, we're gonna be where we are now, where sometimes it's weeks before it gets done. So I'm really not disagreeing, I'm just saying something where someone doesn't bang us over the head someday saying, well, how come this didn't happen? It was 48 hours.
all right. I'll have some additional language in there. What I'm contemplating is this provision may be waived because of unforeseen circumstances, illness, or
Yeah, I mean,
other
and
extenuating circumstances.
I'd put waived by the town council. I mean, just to, in the end, if something happens, the council could do a roll possibly, just to say who says it waived, but sounds like you got that under control.
Yeah.
Quick English lesson.
Yeah?
Is there a difference between practicable and practical? Are they the same? I don't.
I'd have to look it up.
But this works for what you want, because I've not used that term before.
Yeah, it just means that, I take it to mean, and I use the term to mean that, you know, there are times when where did I put that?
8.2.
Oh. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'll look it up.
I'm just
How's
curious.
that?
I'm going to do the same because I'm just not sure. You know, it's probably perfectly right. I just haven't used the word myself. It's a new word from my vocabulary.
It usually means
I feel a
that,
little smarter today.
well, you know, understanding that there may be reasons why it doesn't get put, you know, something doesn't get agended right away,
Right.
okay?
Oh, no, I see. I know what you're trying to do here. I just not seen it. I thought practical was the one, but it might
Yeah.
fit both ways.
Posting is a completely new section. 508.5, town manager or designee shall post copies of the accepted minutes in 2 public places and on the town website by the end of the 4th business day after acceptance.
When it comes to the correction, the council clerk shall approve by the end of the first business day. Wouldn't this posting requirement kind of take care of 8.4? I mean, it wouldn't necessarily mean the day, but it would it?
Well, part of the reason I put the 4 business days in there is because it takes time to transmit them to whoever's gonna put them up, and then they gotta put them up, and then if there's, you know, there might be electronic issues.
No, that's perfect.
You know, sometimes things don't get on there right away, something happens,
Yeah. So
or the person who has to do it isn't here. Or the person, you know, you would hope that there is more than one person that can do it. I also put a thing in here, there may be extenuating, there may be something where the council may feel it prudent to post draft minutes of the meeting. Okay, then I put on here, the date of the posting shall be noted on all copies. And the manager and designee shall maintain copies of the accepted minutes posted in for at least 2 calendar months after the noted posting date and for at least 12 months after the noted posting date on the town website. Okay. I mean, geez, you know, I went down 3/4 of a page of handwriting. Parliamentary procedure. Made reference in the removal section to subject to review under separately adopted due process procedure, which is still in process. Okay. Voting. That's another, that's a. So we dropped out the Robert's Rules piece, changed, there's now 2 sections in there instead of 1.
You did a nice job on 704 too.
Okay. No, that takes care of the, you know, the concern that was raised about.
Absolutely.
You know, a problem or an issue or something happening where the circumstances change.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I think supermajority, no, you did good, you took that whole thing, because that was one of the things I had a real issue with, I didn't know how we would handle it, you did
Yeah.
good.
Then we got into the last 2 items about items laid on the table. And then I deal with, actually, only in the event of an emergency as defined by the charter, may be taken off the table or reconsidered by an affirmative vote again, at any special, regular, special, or emergency meeting. Because a lot of the other language in here talks about regular meetings. Okay, so I just wanted to make it short, make it clear that at any, which are the 3 forms of meetings that are noted in the charter, that if it's an emergency within Article 2(1)(b), okay, that would be handled in that fashion. Okay. Committees of the council, there were no changes there. Communication, there was also no changes.
I just want to touch base on 901, because every time I see something like this, I think of my friend Finley Rothhouse, when he was explaining to me how to handle people that call you up, I won't say who they were. But anyways, it goes into the thing about correspondence, because, you know, someone may look at it and think we're overkilling, and I hope they put this in the read file, but either way, it's a great example. Somebody's written to us with their complaints, and I got no problem with their complaints and their bitches, but give me a name, man. If you want me to be bringing it before the town council, and you want to be talking somewhere, tell me who you are, you know.
Yeah, and almost every set of rules that I saw had something in there about, you know, they weren't going to take it to them. Some of them were rather more blunt than this one is.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not taking anything that's anonymous. It's either it's got to have a name and address attached to it.
Yeah.
Well, again, with this one right here, this is someone talking about the valuations, and what they've said, there's nothing wrong with it, it's good, but the minute I looked and saw him, and then I saw him,
Not the address.
the minute, yeah, it no longer had any weight with it anymore.
Right, that's interesting.
I'm having to send out for fingerprints.
They're gonna have a hard time. They're not, fingerprints aren't all they're cracked up to be.
Especially after we all have handled it.
Yeah.
I actually want to do DNA testing on the
No way.
seal. And the rest of this, since there was no concern about those issues of the suspension of the rules, the amendment of the rules, that these rules supersede any rules or procedures, severability, and the effective date, that's it.
Okay.
I think you did a magnificent job. The only thing I would say is just when we get into the, it's kind of funny, a discussion about discussion. The only thing I think there's gonna be where there'll be, you know, people going back and forth is the thing about how long you speak and whatever, and I think when we hit that, we oughta, again, this is funny, but we oughta say, well, we're only gonna discuss what I'm disagreeing with. I'm seeing there's a valid reason for, because here's an example.
Yeah.
You have a good procedure, and I'm saying, you really don't wanna spend 3 hours talking about one area of contention. So the best way to handle it would be, well, let's all agree that we'll spend no more than half hour of this unless somebody really feels they have more to go. Otherwise,
Which
you could
might
be
be-
beating this back and forth.
Right, in which a time frame as opposed to, an allotment of time as opposed to minutes per person may be a way to handle it. However, I
Don't
have
forget,
no.
7 times 5 is 35.
Right, and I have no beef one way or the other with this. I definitely see the goodness in it, and I think the larger the council gets, the more critical this type of thing becomes, because instead of having 5, we now have 7. I think city forums have 15, I believe, there's 15
Up
all
to.
in- Up to, I mean, I'm thinking of Nashville, I think they have 15 there. It could be
No.
wrong. They
I
don't.
don't think so. But I could.
Yeah, and I don't know, but nonetheless, my point is that you can consume a ton of time with that many people. So,
I don't disagree with having something per se, but again, I look at it all the times, I banged on the table saying I demand to be heard, and I'll be darned if I wanna be sitting in that chair telling someone, well, no, we've said you can't be heard, so.
Well, that isn't the intent of that section. They have the opportunity to be heard. It's just that they're trying to channel the discussion
right,
into a time frame.
Yeah.
So it puts a premium on collecting your thoughts and expressing yourself.
and it's actually right, and you know, then questions happening aren't part of that, which again is another reason why I don't have a problem with it, because I think it would work, but what the council wants. I'm still falling back on the explaining of their vote, and I don't remember well enough, Tom, what the discussion was at our meeting, was it a month and a half ago? I can't
Yeah,
remember when.
well, I thought, and I'd have to look at the tape, but I thought we had decided, and I could be definitely wrong, that they could talk about it, but they could talk about it at the end after the vote was done. I personally have a little bit of an
Well, that
issue.
was, you're right, I think. That's my recollection, okay? And maybe I didn't express it quite that way in here. But that was what I was trying to accomplish by putting it if they so desire.
Okay.
Okay, you take the roll call vote, they want to explain their vote, then they can ask to be recognized to explain their
Because I'm
vote.
good with that. I think I read it, and I may have read it too quick. I read it that we're doing a roll call vote, and I vote, and I tell you yes, and then I explain it before you vote. And that was the part I kind of disagreed.
It's not perfectly written or expressed in there in that fashion. So let me mull that over, and then I may be able to come up with some
I was
better
thinking
language.
once all votes have been cast,
Yeah,
or whatever, but again, I don't think you need my help doing this, that's for sure.
yeah, okay.
Well done.
We'll take care of that. Yeah,
Well, you hold a good meeting, man. You hold the fastest meeting, even the 4th of July. Go to these meetings in 20 minutes, we'd
see,
be out.
you should have thought of that in July when we were talking about who's gonna chair the council.
Oh my
Hey.
God.
I have less time ahead of me than behind me now, so believe me.
Are we to that point already?
I think we're 6 or 7 months, I keep using
Oh my
7
gosh.
months.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
No,
well,
we only got 5. No, I'm sorry, you're right. 6, yeah, 7.
7
Just
weeks from
about
April,
7
April,
months.
May, June, July, August, September,
I have
October.
3 months from today. It'll be a half a damn century old. And that just sounds old. I don't know why.
Relax, man.
Yeah.
Nah, my folks screwed up on my birth certificate. There's 10 years off anyhow, I know. I'm really 40. My sister and I were born 6 months apart.
I'm just always happy to say that I'm the youngest guy on the council
Are you?
by a month.
Are you?
Or three, me and Malzone were born the same time. He was born in February, I was born in
Oh,
March.
be darned. So who's the oldest? Never mind, I'm not gonna ask.
I would
Is it
say,
you, Tom?
I am, I think.
oh, I was gonna, well, you and Betty, I thought might be
You
interesting.
can never include Betty or Nancy in those kind of conversations.
Well,
Period.
my birthday's on January the 9th, so unless they were born before January the 9th in 1946.
I agree with Finley, I think we've talked as much as we need to talk
Yeah.
about that one.
Yes, we do. Yes, we have. All right.
Beautiful.
Okay, yeah, once we're done, tomorrow, I originally thought we had scheduled the meeting for 6 o'clock, but it's scheduled for tomorrow at 7. I mean, because I thought part of what I was looking for was Tom Koenig to have an hour that he was there beforehand.
Right, it
Before
was
he
posted
had the
at 7
planning
now.
thing. Oh, no, I know it was.
Yeah.
I guess, bringing
See,
it
that's
up,
what I originally had, was 6 o'clock.
that's what I thought, because again, I thought the point was that Tom would have an hour. I'm only bringing it up because if I hadn't seen that, if I had been on the web and seen it,
Yeah.
I would've been here at 6, because that's what I thought, so I'm just mentioning it to you.
Yeah, and I saw the, the agenda, that's where I noted at the time, I saw that it was 7. Guess Tom's gonna enjoy the planning board meeting. I guess he has to
Decision
decide
he
what's
makes.
the-
Yeah,
yeah.
that's his decision. Have you seen the school board meeting, where they talked about the sewer thing?
No, I'll get a copy of the thing, I don't have.
Well, that's gonna be the first hour that we watch in the meeting, with this thing, because there's an hour of content in there.
Oh.
And my feeling is that way we know it's all fresh and we all have it, and we're watching it together with it. I think there'll be a lot on it, so if you wanna watch it beforehand, be my guest, but we haven't watched the first hour. Motion to adjourn?
Seconded, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Another nice job.
Hello, Merrimack, and welcome to my TV show. We got a great show for you today. Today we're going to be talking about rock climbing.
I'm a pretty busy guy. Work, the gym, dating.
We're going to go over
I can't always watch Merrimack TV.
TV.
So every morning when I wake up, I put on the patch.
Merrimack TV has cameras, editing facilities, even a TV studio, and training for all of it, free to Merrimack residents. And now we're going to go over the rock climbing equipment. The first
There's only one thing I like more than watching my own show on Merrimack TV,
bag and ball, harness, rope, and most important,
and that's making my own show on Merrimack TV.